USC Athletics is dominating this spring. We've got 5 top 25 teams in our show today.
2 undefeated squads plus Juju Schuster in studio. Sport Teens next. Welcome to the Annenberg Media Center. I'm Jackson Swann.
And I'm Alexa Palermo. The undefeated USC women's water polo team is gearing up for the postseason after clinching the top seed at the first round bye in the MPSF Conference Tournament.
That's right, the women of Troy took down number 3 Stanford on Friday by a score of 8-3. And goalie Amanda Longan, she's just been on fire recently, and she continued her hot streak with 17 saves on Friday, only allowing 3 goals. But when asked how the team was able to hold down Stanford, an offense that scores over 12 per game, Longan gave all the credit to her teammates.
A lot of it's my defensive group, them directing things toward me, them taking care of their areas so I can take care of mine, and just kind of being in the moment and zoned out and knowing that your job is just to block the ball.
The women of Troy have had back-to-back highly successful weekends against some top opponents. They beat number 2 UCLA, followed up by a win over number 3 Stanford this past Friday.
The team's now 20-0, and they beat the Cardinal and Bruin by a combined score of 16-8 in their last 2 matchups. Sophomore Haley McKelvey spoke about how the team has remained so successful even against top-ranked opponents.
I think studying our game plan and sticking to it and being prepared, using their weaknesses against them and then playing to our strengths.
To close the regular season, the women of Troy take on number 8 Cal on Friday. It's another top 10 matchup at the U-Tang-Sioux Aquatic Center. Cal has been in the top 10 for most of the season, but they've dropped 3 of their past 4 games.
While the Bears' offense doesn't match up to the Trojans, their defense is stout, holding opponents just 5 goals per game.
But when it comes to goal scorers, both USC and Cal have some dominant attackers. As we on this show have detailed many times, Stephanie Harlevitas, she's a flat-out beast in the water. She scored 50 goals in only 20 games, but Alexa, the Bears have a pretty dominant attacker as well.
Yes, they do. Carla Carrega for Cal has a pretty special season. Scoring in 23 of their 26 games, Carrega is far and away the leading scorer for the Golden Bears. Whichever team's scorer has the better day has a good chance to come out on top.
The game against Cal is on Friday, and it's the only thing standing in the way of the USC women's water polo team going undefeated for the first time in program history, but they don't seem too worried about it.
It's about our energy, it's about our flow, our team chemistry, our heart, and whether or not we want it. And the thing is we want it. We want everything. We want to go undefeated the entire season, and we want to stick it to them.
The women of Troy take on the Bears on Friday at U-Tang-Sioux at 2 p.m.
Turning to the football field, the USC team capped off spring practice with the annual spring game at the Coliseum on Saturday. Correspondents Rachel Cohn and Jody Storm Sullivan gave us their takeaways from the scrimmage.
Thanks, guys. I'm Jody Storm Sullivan. I'm here with Rachel Cohn today to break down the spring game for you guys. Heading into the spring game, it was a big contention of that double quarterback duel. You have Sam Darnold and you have Max Brown. Rachel, what did you see from the quarterbacks today?
I think both quarterbacks played really well today. I think the one thing that stuck out to me was listening to Max Brown talk afterwards. He said that he really wanted to lock up the position in spring ball. Obviously, that did not happen as there's still a competition going on. But one thing that he did say was that it's because they're 2 great quarterbacks that were competing, and obviously that's a good problem for USC to have 2 quarterbacks that are both playing very well, although Max does seem to have the leadership edge.
He does. That leadership's going to help a lot. This is his 4th spring ball. He's a grad student right now, so he really knows how to lead the team, and that's something that I think you have a lot of new coaches under staff, and to have someone that's been with the program for so long, if Max does get the ball in the fall, he'll be able to keep in control, rein the team in, and hopefully lead his team to a successful season.
Leadership is definitely something to look for. And then on the defensive side of the ball, what I was looking for today was how the defense would play, especially under a new system with Clancy Pendergast coming back to the Trojans. Jody, what did you see there?
Under Pendergast, they played with a lot of energy in the past. Pendergast was able to turn in a not-so-great defense into a number 1 nation-leading defense, and I think we're seeing the foundations of that today. You have a defense that's playing with energy. They're riled up. They did a one-on-one drill against the offense right on the goal line. They were fired up. They were cheering each other on, chest bumping. They were just into it, and you could tell that they really cared that product that they were putting in and keeping that offense out of the end zone.
And the one thing you really couldn't tell very much today was the defensive line is very injured, and they were trying really hard to just do situational football, not really do full game. It was, of course, a scrimmage, real true 15th practice of spring ball, and I guess those are our takeaways.
Yeah, definitely, and you'll see the Trojans again in the fall when they pick up and try to defeat Alabama. I'm Jody Storm Sullivan.
I'm Rachel Cohn. Back to you guys in the studio.
Star receiver Juju Smith-Schuster is one of the offensive leaders for USC football and one of the best receivers in the country. He now joins me in the studio. Juju, thanks for coming today.
Yeah, man, thank you. It's an honor to be here. I appreciate it.
So one of the big things this spring is it's Clay's first spring as full head coach. Has that been different for you guys as players in any way?
What I noticed that was different was, there's no music out there, so there's no more dancing to whatever song that's playing, and it's just more just focus on ball, and it tempos a lot faster. Moving from drill to drill, we're jogging, and then you're going full speed, and then jogging, and then full speed, so it's a lot different.
It seems like you guys are working a lot harder. As far as last season, you broke your hand, had surgery, and you still didn't miss a game. What was that like, and is it any different catching the ball with a screw in your hand now?
Yeah, my mindset was don't miss a game, no matter if it broken hand or not. I think that, after the Cal game, it really taught me a lot of stuff that, fighting through pain, is just temporary. And that fight through pain for 6 months and then fight through pain for like a whole year. So I think it's just great, to have that mindset. Catching the ball wasn't differently. Well, at first, I have to get used to catching the ball more with my left hand, which is not my dominant hand, so it was a lot harder. But, I taught myself, just practice and practice, and then when it was game day, it felt normal.
Just building up that muscle memory.
Yeah, definitely.
As far as this spring, you said you've taken a conscious effort to take a little bit of a step back, allow some of the younger receivers to develop and get more reps in spring. What went into that decision that you made?
We talked as a team, as a group of receivers. I already, proved myself that I can play, at this prestigious level is that, I need my other teammates, to help me. So, when in doubt that I go down, that I need my backups to be ready. And, Daquan Hampton, Isaac Whitney, and also these two freshmen, Josh and Michael Pittman, I think they're going to be great help. So in order for me to get better is that I have to let them take the role of playing.
And the talk of the spring has been the quarterback battle, Max and Sam. Is there a guy, and then also Jalen, is there a guy that you prefer catching the ball from? Do you see it differently off their hand? Or?
They're all great guys. They're all great quarterbacks. Jalen Green's ball is a lot different just because he's a left-hander. Max Brown and Sam Darnold are both great quarterbacks. Good accuracy. Max can throw farther. Sam's ball is a lot faster. So, I don't even know who's going to win the competition. Coach Clay hasn't said it yet, but hopefully whoever wins it, it's going to be great for our future.
So speaking of the future, now that spring's over, the next actual game for you guys is Alabama in Cowboy Stadium, which leads us to our fan question of the week from at Turned Up Trojan. Have you started watching film of Alabama secondary? And if so, who have you been watching?
Definitely have watched film. There's a couple guys that were in my class my sophomore year where I grew up, playing with them at all these camps. But there's also some other guys that who are a lot older, a lot younger, who are actually, starting to play Alabama. But, Marley Humphrey is one of the corners that, I really have my eye on right now. I'll probably say that he's probably their best corner. Number 5 last year, he left, into the draft. So, he's like more of a veteran. Number 26 is coming back. Number 5 is coming. Number 29 is coming back, and I think number 4 is coming back in their secondary. In the front line, they're a great guy. They're a great team in defensive wise, but our studying and our preparation for this game is going to be amazing. So I can't wait to play against them. And that fan has some good questions.
And so the other big news from this past weekend, along with the spring game, was Lynn Swann obviously being named as the next athletic director. What are your thoughts on him taking over the reins?
And Lynn Swann is an unbelievable guy. The stuff that he's done is that we all want to do. He's lived the dream basically. Going to the Super Bowl, being drafted in the first round, being MVP of a Super Bowl, going to 3-time Pro Bowls, and it's just amazing just to see, especially for me because he's a receiver, and he did it as a receiver. And, of course, me playing receiver, it's like I can learn a lot from this guy. So, I'll definitely be spending time a lot with him, outside of the office, so it'd be great.
So you're a pretty vocal guy on the field in practice and in games. We see you doing a lot of elaborate handshakes with all your teammates. What's the inspiration? How do you come up with those different handshakes?
It's just more of the swagger. It's just more, just having fun with it. And I just think that, if you love the game so much, why not have fun? And, the handshakes and, the celebrations that we do, it's something unique that SC does.
So it's time for our last question. Time to get serious for the audience, Juju. I know that you're a big fan of the Taco Bell Delights.
Yes.
The Cinnabon little dessert things.
Yes.
When did you start getting so into those? Why are you so into those?
Well, it started. It first started with, you know, one of my friend. He just came home from a long day. It's like, yo, you gotta try these cinnamon delights, and I was like, man, I don't need that. Like, I tried it, and just one bite, unexpectedly, there was some stuff in it. You know, the cream inside of it was really good. It caught me off guard. So from there, I was like, wow, man, this is some good stuff. So since then, since this past week, I probably ate like about 80 delights, and each box is 12. So that's a lot. So man, go to Taco Bell, get you some delights. It's the best.
You heard it from here from Juju Smith, receiver for USC football. If he's eating the delights, you should be eating them too. Thank you, Juju. That's all the time we have. The next time you'll see Juju on the field is against Alabama in Cowboys Stadium. But for more on what happened in the spring game, let's go to Sydney to take a look at social media.
This past weekend's spring game brought more than excitement for the upcoming football season. The Trojans debuted one of their most intriguing players. Long snapper Jake Olsen took to the field and delivered 2 snaps in Saturday's game. In return, he received a standing ovation. In case you didn't know, Olsen is blind, but didn't let that stop him from realizing his dream of playing for the Trojans. He expressed just how much it meant to him on Twitter. Had lots of fun snapping today, had to fight back tears. Another step towards my goal. Thank you for all the love and support. #FightOn. Former teammate Antoine Woods enjoyed seeing Jake out on the field. It was great watching my boy Jake snap in the Coliseum yesterday at the spring game. Real inspiration. Speaking of inspirations, ESPN reporter Shelly Smith established a special bond with Jake years ago when he was just a Trojan fan. After seeing his performance, she was completely beside herself as she took to Twitter. She tweeted, "Jake, Jake, Jake," repeatedly, followed by a "my oh my." ESPN, SportsCenter, Pac-12 Network, and many more also showed love to Jake via Twitter. He's a reminder to never give up on your dreams. For more on what went down in football this weekend, back to you guys.
Another highlight of the spring game was an appearance from the recently hired athletic director, Lynn Swann. We brought in USC football reporters Keely Yor and Paolo Uggetti to discuss the recent news. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, as you guys know, the hiring on Wednesday came as a bit of a shock, and you could say it was a shock to Lynn Swann as well.
There are a lot of things in my life that I think I planned for. This was not necessarily one of them, but it's one of those great unexpected outcomes, I think, that I'm looking forward to.
I think the main reason people were so surprised is because Swann has zero experience as athletic director. So is his lack of experience a problem?
For me, that was the main concerning thing, especially when you look at what's happened with USC athletics in the past 4 or 5 years. There's a lot of things that the AD had to have his hands in, and it's a lot of, you see what it did to Pat Hayden. It's a lot of stress. It's a high profile job, and if you don't have experience coming into a place like USC, it is concerning. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, in his defense, he does have some political and broadcasting experience, obviously not correlated to an athletic director experience. It's one of the biggest jobs in the country. So I can see why that, to some people, may be an issue that, they're like, let's see how he does, because he doesn't have a track record as to the decisions he's going to have to make.
Yeah, and so he mentioned that while some athletic directors, if someone who was a previous athletic director, they would have that experience, but nobody's going to have previous experience at USC who they're bringing in. So that was his counterpoint to that argument. But while his lack of experience is obviously a weakness for him, Nikias did hire him for a reason. And so, guys, what does Swann bring to the table as an athletic director?
Well, I think, first of all, he said it, and he was very clear about this in his press conference. He wants 3 things from the student athletes. He wants them to graduate, he wants them to win, and he wants them to experience. So from that perspective, it really looks like he has a plan. We talked about maybe no experience, and maybe that will hurt him in the long run. But for right now, it looks like he has a plan regarding the student athletes and what he wants to do as he manages the athletic program.
Yeah, he made it really clear that his focus was on the student athletes. Before he even met with the press, he met with the team captains, and he talked to them, and he made it really clear that he wants them to graduate. Even when he came and visited the football team, the players were all saying he talked about graduating, which is something, if you're a new AD, that's interesting to talk about as your first thing. So it's clear that he wants his focus on those students.
And I mean, USC athletics, aside from maybe football, is in a pretty good spot. You have a lot of, as we've detailed, a lot of winning teams right now. So while there may not be a ton of pressing issues for him to focus on right now, that will leave him with the potential time to focus on the student athletes themselves.
I want to stress to you that today's announcement isn't so much about me, but what I hope we can achieve together. What motivated me to take this job were the young men and young women at USC.
I think hearing that showed me a lot as to what his plan is going forward, because USC in the past few years has been a program that's been riddled with a lot of controversies off the field or with coaches or with leadership. So just hearing that his focus is on the student athletes and that he wants them to succeed and be the forefront of the program, that shows a lot of where he wants to take the program.
Yeah, and it looks like USC, they have a lot of coaches locked down. They look like they're in a place where they actually can focus on the players and focus what's going on the field instead of the drama off the field.
I mean, and that's good for the student athletes because they come to USC to develop as people as well as players. So it's good to see an athletic director who's committed to doing that and furthering their time here at USC.
Exactly. And with Pat Hayden stepping down officially on June 30th, Swann will take over the reins on July 1st.
The #1 ranked USC beach volleyball team has been a force to be reckoned with this season. The women of Troy are 23-2, coming off a weekend full of victory. Here are the 3 biggest moments from the weekend. #1, last Thursday, the Trojans dominated #2 ranked Pepperdine at home, 4-1. Thursday also marks Senior Day as the Trojans honored Zoe Nightingale, Alexis Strange, and Emily Young in pre-match ceremonies. #2, the Trojans swept TCU at the Cowtown Classic. After senior night, the team wasted no time celebrating as they headed to TCU in Fort Worth, Texas to compete in 3 duels this weekend. The women of Troy won their 19th straight duel with the sweep of the Horned Frogs. And finally, juniors Kelly Clays and Sarah Hughes secured their 56th straight win in 2 sets. The duo has not lost since April 2nd of 2015. And finally, the pair of Sophie Bukovic and Alexis Strange was named the Pac-12 Pair of the Week for the first time. To cap off our coverage of sand volleyball, I caught up with Allie Wheeler in this week's Ask an Athlete.
I'm here with beach volleyball star Allie Wheeler. I have 60 seconds to ask Allie as many questions as possible. Alrighty, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, who is the funniest teammate?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would have to say probably Jo Kremer. She just comes up with the funniest jokes and she's very witty. Yeah.
Who's your favorite team to play against?
Definitely Pepperdine. It's our biggest competitor, and yeah, I would say that would probably be the best.
Well, congrats on the big win last Thursday, senior night. You played Pepperdine. It was great.
Yeah.
What's the best thing about game day?
Definitely just like the loud music, the fans, and just like the atmosphere. It's really fun. Yeah.
Celebrity crush?
Ooh. Brad Pitt. Yep.
Great choice. Great choice. What's your guilty pleasure?
Definitely watching Scandal on Thursdays. It's my favorite.
Kerry Washington, she's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, what restaurant would you add to the campus center?
Oh gosh, not sure. Skip,
Okay. Pass. You get one freebie. What's the one place you've always wanted to travel to?
Definitely Iceland.
And why?
Just because of the environment. Yeah.
Favorite emoji to use over text?
Definitely this one with the blonde hair, the little hand. Yeah.
Nice. That's all we have time for. Thank you so much, Allie. Back to you guys.
This was a wild weekend in USC sports with a ton of top-ranked teams in action across the country. We have a team of reporters here to give you a recap of all the action. Let's start with the women's lacrosse team, who picked up 2 huge wins against top 25 opponents. The women of Troy were #4 coming into the weekend, and they have a good chance to move even higher in the rankings. Josh, what's the latest with the women's lax team, and how are they able to get those 2 huge wins this weekend?
Thanks, Jackson. The women's lacrosse team improved to 15-0 on the season after defeating Northwestern and Notre Dame on the road. The women of Troy made their first stop in Evanston, where they beat Northwestern 14-11. Caroline DeLira, Kylie Drexel, and Amanda Johansson all scored hat tricks in the win. Meanwhile, Michaela Michael had 3 assists and 7 draw controls against the Wildcats. The team then made its way to South Bend, where it downed Notre Dame 5-4 in a defensive battle. Goalie Gussie Johns came up big, time and time again, making 10 saves on the day. Michaela Michael had already eclipsed her own record of 76 points in a season as she leads the highest scoring offense in the country, tied only with Maryland in that department. USC also has the top defense in the land. Lindsey Monday's squad is the only team in the D1 ranks conceding less than 6 goals per game. The women of Troy have 2 more regular season games, both at home. Now ranked #4 in the country, the team will face Stanford in the Coliseum on Friday before taking on UC Davis at McAllister Field. Then it's on to the postseason. Now let's send it to Angel Viscara in Mark Stadium.
Thanks, Josh. It's safe to say that USC's Mark Stadium was the center of the Pac-12 tennis universe this past Sunday. Both the men's and women's tennis teams took on crosstown rival UCLA in a doubleheader that had the 2 teams sharing the court during doubles. The 21st ranked women of Troy avenged an early season loss in Westwood by defeating the 23rd ranked Bruins 4-1 Sunday afternoon. A strong doubles performance from Juliana Olmos and Gabby Smith, accompanied by a match-clinching straight-set singles victory from freshman Jessica Fela, propelled the team to its 9th straight victory. With the win, USC boosted its perfect conference record to 7-0 this spring. The women of Troy, now 12-4 overall in the season, have not lost a match since February 24th. The team now heads to Ojai, California, where they will take on 17th-ranked Stanford for the Pac-12 championship tomorrow afternoon. Now, let's stay on the courts and serve it on over to Rachel, who has your men's tennis recap.
Thanks, Angel. The men didn't fare quite as well as the women of Troy this weekend. The number 9 ranked USC men's tennis team took on the number 4 ranked UCLA team here at Marks Stadium. USC fell 4-2 with singles wins from freshman Jake Devine and sophomore Thibault Forget. This loss to the Trojans' crosstown rival puts USC in the number 2 seed for the upcoming Pac-12 tournament. The Trojans will head to Ojai this Friday to play in the semifinals and seek out their spot in the championship match on Saturday. That's it for the weekend recap. Back to you guys in the studio.
USC is the home to some great athletes, but it is also the place where great athletes come to practice. Former USC wide receiver Marquise Lee brought teammates and friends back to Howard Jones Field. But these weren't just any friends, they were Super Bowl champs.
On hand were Russell Wilson, Hayes Pillard, Tyler Lockett, Doug Baldwin, Jermaine Kearse, and Paul Richardson. Connor Sullivan, former walk-on quarterback for USC, got the chance to toss the ball around with Super Bowl winning quarterback Russell Wilson.
It's kind of surreal because you see these guys on TV, and when you're catching a pass and throwing with them, it's like, dang, I caught a pass from a guy that I'm seeing on TV, a little bit of celebrity starstruckness.
A highlight, or possibly a low light from the spring game, was our own Jody Storm Sullivan getting crushed by Jabari Ruffin on a tackle that extended out of bounds.
Jody's on the sideline filming, and as you can see here, running back Dominic Davis takes the run outside to the left. Jabari flies in, nails Jody. Her camera goes flying, pointing every direction. Jody was thankfully okay. She escaped with a couple bumps and bruises, but I mean, getting tackled by a Division I middle linebacker has got to hurt.
Yeah, I saw her bruises yesterday, and they looked really, really painful.
It's brutal.
That's all we have for our show this week. Be sure to tune in next week for the final episode of the semester, where we will be giving you everything you need to know on Championship Week for spring sports.
Follow us on Twitter at SportsSceneUSC, like us on Facebook, and check us out online at uscannenbergmedia.com. See you next week.